Hi guys, it's Jen with creativelyhomemade.com. Thursday is Thanksgiving, so it's a short week for me, so I thought I would share some fun Christmas ornament ideas with you. So today's Christmas ornament is made with the Hearts Come Home stamp set and the Hometown Greetings die set, and it's just a half a snap together Christmas ornament put on top of a cute little village scene. So these are the ornaments I used, and you can get 2 of these ornaments out of 1 of these. They just snap together, so we're only going to be using half. And then here is the stamp set that I used, the Hearts Come Home, excuse me, and the coordinating little village dies. These are called Hometown Greetings. So let's get started and I will show you how to make these. Okay, we're going to start by doing some die cutting. I've pulled out my Layering Circles die set. This has regular circles and scalloped circles in it, and you're going to need the largest scalloped circle and the next to largest regular circle. And you're going to need Night of Navy cardstock for both of those. This is going to form the background piece for your ornament and also the little night sky insert. So I'm just going to cut those really quick. So you will need 1 of each of these, 1 scalloped circle and 1 regular circle for each ornament you're going to make. And then we also need to use our die cut machine to cut the village pieces. Okay, for this next step, I'm switching over to my precision plate. That will help me cut out all those little pieces in the village scene. So I am just using this one right here that has the 3 buildings. And for my ornament, I'm going to be using those 2 houses. So I have a 3-inch square of shimmery white paper. And I'm going to line up those houses just about in the middle. And with any die that I use with this precision plate, I'm going to run it through several times because there are a lot of little intricate pieces on it, and so you want to make sure those get cut all the way through. Okay, so I set my die cut machine aside for a second and I pulled out my foam pad and my die brush, and I'm going to run that back and forth over this die, and that's just going to help all those little pieces pop out, and it's going to help it release from the paper. And then we're going to cut the circle so that it fits in our ornament. So let me get my die cut machine back out. Okay, so I have this little village piece from the shimmery white paper back on my die cut machine. For this, you're going to want the magnetic platform again. And this is the same circle die that I used to cut out the Night of Navy. It's about 2 3/4 inches across, and this is the second to largest one. And you just want to center that on your village scene on the 2 houses. You're going to cut a little bit into that tree, but we're going to cut that off. And so just run that right back through your die cut machine. Okay. Then pop the piece out and you have your little village insert for your ornaments. So we're finished with the die cut machine, so you can set that aside. Okay, so the next step is we are going to back the little houses with gold foil so it looks like they're all lit up at night. So I already did 1 of those, and I'm going to show you how to do the second one. You are going to want to put some scrap paper down to protect your work surface because we're going to be working with fine tip glue and it tends to seep out a little bit. And you're also going to need the scrap of the circle that you cut out of that shimmer white paper, and we're going to use that to make a template. So I've got a little scrap of gold foil here, and I'm going to turn it over so we're working with the back side, and then you want to work with the wrong side of the die cut that you cut out so that it will be oriented the right way with the gold showing the right way. So I want to leave a little bit of space at the bottom to glue it on, and then you're just going to trace that house onto the back of that gold foil. Okay, and then grab some scissors here and then cut that out on the line. Some of the little pieces can be quite intricate, so it does take a little bit of time to do this, but the end result is so worth it. Okay, so there we have our little gold outline. Does not need to be perfectly straight. And you just want to make sure that that fits on the back of your die cut village piece. And then pull out your fine tip glue pen. And we are just going to put glue all around that village piece. Paying close attention to like the edges and maybe like around the windows. Okay, so that's pretty good. And I'm just going to pop that foil facing down onto that village die cut. And then pull it off of that scrap paper, and I've just got a silicone mat laying here. And this is an old block that I don't use anymore, a mounting block, and just pop that down on that die cut and let that glue set up. That doesn't take very long to set up, and that's how our finished little village die cut looks with the gold on the backing. So you can set that aside for now, and we're going to be doing our stamping and embossing. So I have pulled out gold embossing powder, and I'm using the Hearts Come Home stamp set. So on the back of the ornament, I'm going to be using this stamp that says All Hearts Come Home for Christmas, and then I'm going to be using the little moon and the star. But you can use, there are a lot of different choices, and I'm going to show you some ornaments at the end that use the Santa and some different options. So I've got that All Hearts Come Home, and I've pulled out my 2 circles that we already cut. The sentiment is going to go on the back side of the scalloped circle, and I am using Versamark ink, and I just have my little embossing powder here in a lock and lock container, and I have a little spoon in it that makes it easy to pour the embossing powder over the image. Before you stamp anything, you want to take an embossing buddy and run it over your circle, and that is going to make sure that the Versamark ink does not stick to any of the fingerprints or anything else on your cardstock. You only want it to stick to the stamped image. So I'm just stamping that up here real quick. And this is a clear ink, but it's very sticky and very good for embossing. So I'm just going to stamp that right in the middle. I know it's kind of hard to see. I have that dark blue silicone mat. But here we go. You'll be able to see it when I put the gold on it. So I'm just pouring gold all over there. And you get that nice little All Hearts Come Home for Christmas sentiment. Sometimes even when you use the embossing buddy, you'll find that you have little bits of embossing powder where you don't want them. And a little paintbrush comes in handy for brushing those aside so that those won't get melted when you emboss it. And it also helps to like flick the back of the cardstock. That'll help get those extra pieces off too. Okay, so that looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and emboss that. I just have a silicone mat down here on my desk, so that helps protect it from the heat. You want to let that heat gun heat up for 15-20 seconds before you start running it over the embossing. And just run it back and forth. You don't want to hold it in any one place too long. And you will notice that it changes color when that embossing powder has melted. There it goes. You see over here it has started to melt. And you want to just keep running back and forth until that is all the consistent melted color. And you've gotten all those bits and pieces. Okay, that looks good. There is that embossed ornament back. And now we're going to emboss the star and moon in the front side. Okay, for the next step we're going to be stamping the little moon and stars, and we're going to emboss that. So you want to go ahead and lay your little village piece on that circle so you know exactly where to stamp the moon and the star. So go ahead and ink up the moon with the Versamark and stamp it. And you have a little bit of time with the Versamark because it's really sticky ink. So you can go ahead and add a couple of little stars. Whoops. Just like that. Then remove your village piece and pour embossing powder over the moon and stars. And I got a little spot there with extra embossing powder, so I'm just brushing that inside. And if you brush a part too much, and like there, I got into the moon a little bit, so you can just pour embossing powder right back over that. Must have gotten some stray ink here. I'm getting a little trail from that star. Okay, so now we're ready to emboss that. And for littler pieces like this one, it's helpful to hold those with some tweezers so you don't burn your fingers. So I'm just going to heat emboss that real quick. And there the moon changed color and the stars. This doesn't take very long. So there's our finished piece. Now I used an embossing buddy on this, so it kind of changes the color of dark paper. It adds a little bit of a white sheen to it. So after you're done embossing it, if you just take a rag and wipe over that, that'll remove the powder from the embossing buddy. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside and we can start assembling our ornament. Now we have all our pieces prepared and we are ready to start assembling things. The first thing you want to do is to add some fast fuse to the back of the embossed circle and put it on the back of your ornament base. So you want to make sure this is going to be, you know, oriented correctly on the back of your ornament. And I'm just going to make sure that everything will line up when it is all assembled. Okay, so I'm going to add that fast fuse. And that's about how I want it to look, so then I will go ahead and stick that down on my circle. Now the reason we did two circles instead of stamping directly on both sides of this scalloped circle is that so we have a better idea for the placement, because the edge of this inner circle is where our ornament is going to sit, so you didn't want to go beyond it. So it just makes things easier to line up. Okay, so now we have our ornament back all ready to go. So we are going to stick our little village piece down, and I'm adding some foam adhesive to the back of that. That will make it stand apart from the night sky a little bit and give it some dimension. So you just want to add a few pieces of the foam adhesive to the back. You can use Stampin' Dimensionals too if that's what you have. And just you can cut that foam adhesive to fit in the spaces. And then the best thing I found to get the backing off is the paper piercing tool. So just use that to pull the backing of that foam adhesive up. And while you are assembling, putting this all together, you want to have your glue gun heating up because we're going to be using that in just a little bit. That little foam adhesive piece wanted to pop off. Okay. Okay, so I have all of my foam adhesive on the back, and I'm just going to stick that to the night sky piece, just like so, and you can see there's a little bit of dimension there. Okay, so we're now ready to put this little village scene on the ornament. But before I do, I pulled out some cotton balls, and it's kind of fun to add a little bit of cotton down at the bottom so it looks like snow. You want to start with a little bit. You can always add more, but you don't really want to try to have to take any away. So I am just using plain old Elmer's glue down here at the bottom. And I'm adding a little bit, if I can get it to come out anyway. Using it earlier, it must have dried up a bit. There we go. So I'm just putting a tiny little bit of snow down at the base where it looks like it's the snowdrift. Okay. Don't want to cover up any of the houses, you just want to add a little bit, and then go ahead and put that ornament back on and see what it looks like, and if it looks good to you, then we are good to assemble this. You just want to make sure that it's all inside the area where the ornament is going to sit. You don't want it outside this inner circle. So I'm just going to add a little bit more glue to make sure that that doesn't pop out. Okay. And that looks pretty good to me. Now you can add glitter if you'd like to the snow. I had a glitter mishap earlier today and spilled glitter all over the place, so I don't think I'm going to mess with that, but you certainly can. Now to add this ornament cover to your base there, I just use hot glue. You can use Tombow or Elmer's glue, but it's going to have to sit for a little while. So since hot glue sets up so quickly, that's what I'm going to use. And you just want to add a thin stream of hot glue all the way around the edge, and you're going to have to work pretty quickly because that's going to cool. So just run that around the edge, and I find the quicker I go, the messier I get, but that's okay because I'm going to put some sequin trim around it to cover that up. Okay, there we go. So we've got that cover on. Okay, so we want to start adding hot glue all around the edge of the ornament, and we're going to add that sequin trim. Now, I just had to start over because I messed up. I found that the sequin trim flipped over to the back side, and I didn't even notice it. So I was having the backs gluing the front side actually to the ornament, so it was the wrong side showing. So be careful as you are adding this trim that you don't make that mistake. So just do maybe a quarter of the way around the ornament and press the sequin trim into place before continuing to add more glue. And when you get to the top, there's a little hanger on there, so you're going to want it to take the sequin trim in front of it. There, I'm trying to get twisted again. There we go. I have hot glue all over the place. So just continue on around, pressing that trim into place as you go. And then when you reach the end, just cut it off and overlap it slightly. And then press that final bit into place. Just like that. And that largely hides all the glue gun work that you did to assemble the ornament in the first place. So that just helps draw their attention elsewhere. So now we are ready to add a little hanger to it. You want to clean up any strands of glue gun that you can get. Sometimes they leave little strings all over the place and that can be kind of messy. So I'm just pulling those off. Okay, so for the ornament hanger, I'm going to cut about maybe an 8 or 9 inch length of this 1/8 inch gold ribbon. And I'm going to thread that through the hole at the top of the ornament. See if I can get that threaded through there. I got some hot glue strands pulling through there, so it's not, there we go. Wasn't wanting to go through. Worst part about working with hot glue is all those little strands all over the place. They can be quite a mess. So you just want to pull that through and make those ends at equal length and then tie it in a knot. And that's going to be your ornament hanger. And then the only other thing we want to do is I'm going to take some of this quilted Christmas 1/4 inch ribbon and form it into a small little bow. And you can mess around with the loops until you get it the size you want. And then just cut the ends. And then I want to hot glue that bow right there at the top of the ornament. And press the bow into place just like that. So here is the finished ornament. So pretty, and it catches the light so it'll look gorgeous hanging on your tree. Now what I am going to use these for this year is present toppers. I'm just going to add a bow and add this cute little ornament to the top of all my Christmas presents this year. So I've been making a bunch of them. So this one has 2 little houses and the moon and the stars. And then I made one with the little church and the moon and the stars. So I like how that one turned out as well. And then I did one with the Santa and his reindeer over the top of the house, and I embossed that one in silver, and I thought that turned out cute. And then the last one I did is actually 2 layers of houses. So I put the background layer in with the tree there, and then I put another little house in the front, and I'm doing all that with the foam tape to add dimension, and then I stamped the stars and moon. So I really enjoy how these turned out. I think they're going to look very pretty on my presents this year, and I hope the people that I'm giving them to enjoy them. If you would like the stamp set and the coordinating dies, they are available as a bundle. If you buy them both together, you save 10%, and I have the link to where you can purchase them down in the description box below, along with all the other supplies you need, including these little snap together ornaments. So if you like this Christmas ornament tutorial, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. That provides me some feedback and lets me know what types of projects you like. And if you would like to see more Christmas crafts this year, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I have a lot more planned for you. Thanks so much for watching. Happy crafting!